Hi everyone, welcome to Thoughts of Treasures. My name's Connie and this is my craft room. Welcome in. If you guys are first time watchers, please be sure to hit the follow or the subscribe depending on where you're watching from so you don't miss out on any of the videos that I upload. I usually do about 4 per week, so you don't want to miss out on any of them. This is what we're going to be working on tonight. It is a little, don't mind the bottom. There's just an old piece of, we don't waste anything around here. This is our Merry Woofmas. I thought it would be cute. We're going to make a little sign from it. I actually had another piece here, but you know, it's okay. It kind of got ruined and we can use the rest of this. So this is actually rice paper design. I do have some of these available in my live sale. If you guys are ever interested in checking out my live sales, I do post the schedule on my thoughtsoftreasures.com page. So please be sure to check that out and join us on Sundays. It's always on Sundays. It's every other Sunday or thereabout, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So we're going to be working with this. I have 2 pieces of wood, one of which is going to hold our design. And it's going to hopefully fit on here perfect. Oh yes, perfect. We're going to put that on here on the front and then on the back. So let me layer it and show you. I like the layered look. I am an 80s girl, so you know the layered look has always been an in thing for me. So we're going to have that on the back. Of course, we got to do buffalo check for Christmas. And we're going to do our little Merry Woofmas on the front. I think that's going to be awesome together. And when it's finished, you guys are going to want to make millions of them. Kidding. But you'll probably want to make a couple. These make great gifts for friends and family, so keep that in mind. Everybody can use a sign for their home. We all have like little command strips that are hooks or something that we can hang these on. I am going to get started, so I will chit chat and talk with y'all, but we're going to get started and figure out what we're going to do first. I do have to paint, you know, that's the fun part of it all. So I'm just going to go ahead and do all of this white. I know you're not going to see this through the cardstock. However, I always have issues in this, you know, if you are finding you're having issues with your cardstock adhering to your wood after you Mod Podge it, that maybe it's coming up, you know, could be the you know, Mod Podge. You can use whatever Mod Podge, decoupage medium that you want to use. I use regular Mod Podge, and I always find that there's an issue. So I always say, paint this. You don't have to have full coverage, you know, this nice bright white surface. On this part, I think I just gave myself a splinter. Sand your wood down. But it will give that a barrier between the wood and the Mod Podge. So, no, the wood, it will give a barrier so that the Mod Podge won't soak into the wood. Yeah, that's right, because we're putting paint on it. I said it right the first time. So I'm going to head and go and give this all a nice coat of paint. Front, back. I am going to do the back nice and white. However, the front I'm not going to worry about. And this piece, we are going to do a nice bright white layer because on this part, we are going to be putting our image. So you want to keep in mind that if you want your image to really, really pop, you're going to need a nice white background. If you paint this pink, you know, you can paint it any color you want, but if you paint it like a pink or a black, you're going to make sure that this is see-through. You can see right through this. And look, you're going to see right through this. So whatever you're going to put underneath, you're going to see that color through this. And that's the look you're going for, that's fine. But if you want it to pop the most, you want to use white and make sure it's a nice full coverage. Paint it like you mean it white. All right, I'm going to get started. I don't know, it doesn't really matter which one we start with, so I'm going to put that one over there. We're just going to go ahead and start painting. You know what, I'm not going to pour it on. Every time I pour it onto something, I end up putting way too much and then it gets really, really, really messy. So I'm just going to go ahead and, I'm just using Apple Barrel White. I'm going to put a glob out there. I'm going to do the back first. And we're just going to get this painted up. So anyway, if you guys are new, thank you for being here. I do appreciate you all. But please make sure that you hit the follow and the subscribe button because That will let you know when I go live or when I upload videos. You'll get all those notifications. You'll become part of our family, and that is a lot to me. That means a lot to me. So, all right, we're just going to give this a nice, good painting. Now, do keep in mind that I do have a website, thoughtsofTreasures.com. You can check out all of the different videos that I have there. It is not set up as a purchase site. It is only set up as a blog site. However, that does not mean that anything on there is not for sale. I do lots of kits, but I primarily do a lot of my sales during my live sale, which is great because, you know, that's when I give whoever's watching and orders then, they get the discounted live sale price. If you want to check that out, just check out the schedule. I will be uploading right now. It should be up, and I think it's up. It should be up and available for everybody to watch. Alright, so I'm just going to get this on. Now, if you want to use chalk paint, it's thicker. You won't have to do as many coats. I do want the back to be nice, so we're going to, you know, all this painting is the fun part, but the painting is what makes it all so pretty. Now, with signs like this, you can do all sorts of different backgrounds. You do not have to use cardstock. Cardstock just comes in so many pretty things that if you want a quick and easy sign, it just makes it that way. There's lots of Christmas papers out there. I, however, am a buffalo check person, so it's black and white throughout the year, and then red and black Christmas time. When you are doing this, make sure you keep each coat that you do dry completely. If you've got the time, you know, do your coat, walk away, go watch some television, come back, do another coat. And when I'm doing these recordings, you don't have that kind of time. So, I try to do multiple tapings of videos as I'm doing this, so, you know, we just got to get it finished. Let me do the side. Well, yeah, I will do that after. I was going to say, I'll do the sides before I do the front. I will do the sides on this. These are not cut with the laser. If you guys are new to me, I do a lot with the laser. I do a lot with the Cricut. I'll do a lot with just, you know, different. I do all kinds of different crafts. I have been, however, lately into doing wood kits. So you may see more of those than any of the other projects, but you will see one snuck in here and there. And if you go back and review all of my different things, different videos, you will see that there are different crafts. That's why I always say, you know, this may not be your cup of tea, but however, go check out the other videos. They are linked to different sites, so you can just click on them and watch the video. There's lots of fun things and a little bit for everybody. I think signs are probably one of my favorite things to make. They're just cheery, they can be inspirational, they can be funny, they can be seasonal. You know, you can make a sign with anything. I do rice papers, I can do them with the Cricut sayings. And I say Cricut sayings, they're not really Cricut, but that's what I use. And I really don't need a full coverage on the back. I just want it to be finished. On the front, I'm just going to do one layer of paint because that's going to be hidden and we're not even going to see it. But the only reason, like I said, if you missed in the beginning, the only reason I do that is because of the Mod Podge adhering to the paper and the wood. I just think it kind of, maybe the wood soaks it in more. You know, that's what happens with paint, but I always have the problem with the paper eventually falling off. Whereas when I put the paint down, then the Mod Podge, it does help and it doesn't come up. I don't ever seal my papers that I put on I don't like the look, I don't like the feel, I don't like how it sometimes crinkles, and I don't like any of that. So I don't seal, and I've never had a problem doing it so it doesn't come off. So we're going to get this completely dry. I'm going to do the sides, and then we're going to put one layer on the front, and then I'll do the other board, and then we'll go back and we'll start Mod Podging this together. I know this is kind of the most boring part. That's why I'm trying to just give you different pieces of information about myself. But these signs do work up rather easy. Like I said, if you have to make multiple signs, you can, paint them all at one time. Then you can go back and Mod Podge your stuff, and there's different routes that you can take. I do these videos non-edited. There's always that fast forward button if you don't want to watch all this or hear me talk. So there's always that, but I do these videos pre-recorded, however they are non-edited, which means if I mess up, you see it. I like to make sure I tell everybody that because, sometimes they're over an hour. Sometimes, the more you watch, it's great. I appreciate it. But, again, nobody wants to always watch someone paint a board that, they want to skip to the fun part. And trust me, I understand. I do it myself, but I just keep in mind that people, that are putting these videos out, there is a reason why we need to watch them all the way through, or, a good bit through. So I may not talk through the entire thing. I may just go ahead and paint this up. I'm going to keep that around. And of course, if you don't get paint on yourself, you're not a crafter. The fan got my paper towel that was sitting there. Alright, let me get this completely dry, then we'll flip it over and we're going to do the print. It's the back. Stop being so picky about the back. Okay. Sometimes when I do things like this, I should probably just not talk through it, any good information, because a lot of people do skip through this and then get to the fun part. So maybe I should just start not really talking. Shh, y'all would like that. No. But I do like to give tidbits of information, so if you miss something, you can always go back. I've done many of these signs, and of course, not everybody watches everything, so I like to repeat things. I've done these many signs on a live. I've done many videos with these signs. I actually refer to these signs as my happy signs, only because, like people that make wreaths, it makes them happy, it's joy. There's just so much character in every one, yet they're the same. I kind of make them the same, but each one has its own personality and its own, not really personality, but own characteristics. So, and then you can customize them to, who you're giving them to, or the season. I did that for Christmas one year. I made all my friends just a different sign as one of their gifts, and it just was perfect. I could customize them to what they like, and it's fun. So it just makes me happy to make them. I like the layered look on them. Again, you can do the backgrounds in paint, you can do them in cardstock, you can make, fancier backgrounds, not just plain. There's just so much you can do with these. And when I do the Mod Podging, I do use the iron-on method. Alright, now I'm going to get this dry. We're going to put this aside. I'm going to paint the other one before I Mod Podge. But I can't move this because if I move it, I have paint everywhere. They're just fun. I encourage everybody. I mean, like I said, you can use, if you don't have access, like I said, I do sell printables in my live sale. If you don't have access to printables or vinyl cuttings, I do both of them. If that's something you're looking for. However, you know, there's a million other things you can use. Rub on transfers. You can use print pictures on regular paper. Because, I mean, if cardstock Mod Podge is good, you can use regular paper. There's just so many different options. I think that's pretty good, so we're going to move this over here. And I'm going to move this over here temporarily, let that finish drying. But then I'm going to come in with this. So now on this piece, I do not have to worry about doing the back because the back is going to be up against that. So I'm just going to do the sides and the front. So we're just going to do the sides first. If paint gets on the back, it's okay. I ain't worried about it. No one will ever see it. And then I am going to do the front extremely nice because I want, like, you know, maybe I might even do 3 coats on it. I want the image to pop, and the way that's going to happen is by your backer color. So we're just going to, I usually use chalk paint, but I don't think I have any right now. I'm trying to stay away from the chalk paint that I don't use or try a different brand. I have a lot of Waverly and that just seems to go bad on me, so and for the price that you pay for it, you don't want to waste it. And yes, with Apple Barrel, you're going to have to do 2-3 coats of stuff. It's just the thickness of the paint. But you do want to make sure that you dry in between each layer. That and put some paint on. Now again, if you're using like regular printer paper, you don't have to do, you know, so much of the layers of paint to make it nice and bright. Rice paper, vellum paper, things like that that are see-through, you're going to see that color pop. But, you know, whatever's behind it, you're going to see. You may not think you will, but by the time you Mod Podge it on, if you use black, if you use pink, you're going to see that shine through. Just be mindful of that when you're doing it. Like I said, I am going to do, it may take 3 coats of this, so. You just want to make sure everything is just perfectly even and to the quality of, like, you know, I can still see wood through this, not wood, but streaks through it. Now, are you going to see all of that through the paper? No. And you may want to go for a look like that. You know, you can, I'm not going to dirty this up at all, but in the end, you know, if you want to put some a rusticy kind of look to it, you can do that. I am not doing any of that with this one. We're going to keep it plain. I'm going to give this one more coat. I'm going to get this dry. I'm really sucking this one up. One more coat and I think we should be good. And we can move on to the Mod Podge part. So like I said, when I do the Mod Podging, I do the iron-on method. I'm telling you, before that, I just never liked to Mod Podge anything because there were so many wrinkles and I tore so many papers. It just was not me. Now, you know, it's more texture things, and so, you know, maybe if I did it now, people like that textured look. To me, it was like, it wasn't nice. But when I'm making signs like this, I really don't like the texture. It's more just about the look. But then again, if you're making a really rusticy sign, you can always Mod Podge tissue paper down onto it. It gives it that wrinkly kind of look, and then you can put your your vinyl saying onto it. And I have thought about trying that and showing you all that, and you know, in time I will. There's just so many creative things that we can do. I think that's good. Let's get that dry. Now I have a silicone mat down, and I will clean this up before we get to the next step. Because I don't want the paint to get over everything. Yes, it's dry, but the minute you put something down onto it, it's not dry. It always seems to work that way. That's all the painting I got, so we get that away. This is completely dry, and I'll go ahead and do the other board first so we can let this one dry some. So I'm going to move this over to the side, but I'm going to wipe this up. This is just a regular little baby wipe. It just wipes right on up. Well, I said it wiped right on up. The only thing I find hard to get off of this, and it still does come up, it just doesn't with a baby wipe. We've got to use more of those counter cleaner wipes, is the chalk paint. Once it's dried on there, it's dried. Alright, so there's our board. I am going to get our little Mod Podge. Well, I'm running out. Hopefully we got plenty. Sorry about that noise. This is regular Mod Podge. I just use it in a condiment bottle from the Dollar Tree. We're just, you know what, before I do that, stop. I'm going to give this a light sanding. This is just a Dollar Tree. It's got the rougher side and the smoother side. I'm going to use the smoother side just to get things nice and smooth. I'm not scraping anything off. However, if something comes off, it's okay. And I'll do that one to the other one. So now we're just going to pour this on. And with the iron-on methods, you know, you don't have to put tons on, but keep in mind, you know, whatever, if it's, don't do that. I just threw it all off the side. Throw it all on the table. You don't have to worry about it being lumpy, whereas if you are not using the iron-on method, you know, they say use a thin layer. Make sure, I like to make sure that we go back and forth over and over and over. Some of it will start drying, And like I said, I always think it's soaked into the wood without the paint on there, but when you put the iron to it, it's going to reactivate. But I will tell you, if you put a lot on, it will take a while for it to dry. And I keep getting it on the side, but that's okay. I like to make sure, especially on the edges, you want to make sure that you get a lot. And I'll even go back, because like I said, some of it starts drying, and then you don't know if you have it on the edges, so I will even go back and put more on. Do a little bit over here. Now, there's also a faux page that you can make, your own Mod Podge, I guess is, a good way to say it. And there is a recipe out there, because all it is glue and water. So if you don't want to spend the money, you can get those big gallons. I'm sure school glue is always out. It's all it is Elmer's glue. Make sure I got it all on here. I'll just put a tiny bit more in the corners here. So like I said, if you have lumps and bumps, don't stress over that. It does not have to be even, because when you use the iron, it's going to melt it all and everything will end up being even. I just like to make sure. The most important part I like to get is the sides, only because, that is where it usually lifts from, so you want to make sure you have lots down there. All right, you put that there. Let's get this dried. I'm going to do the other one with the Mod Podge so it can dry on its own too, but I don't want to pick this up and put it over there. And then you can get both iron on at the same time. I'll just sit some by itself. So the purpose of the iron-on method, drying it, gives you more advantage of putting your placement down. With my buffalo checks, I want to make sure that they're on, because if they're not on straight, you will notice. If it's just a random pattern, sometimes it doesn't matter, but then there's times that you really want to, so if it's wet, you put it down. If it's not straight, you got to pick it back up. There's just advantages to the iron-on method. Right, I'm going to let that set for now. We got semi-dry. Then I'm going to bring my other board in. We're going to give it a little bit of sanding. Make sure I've got the right side. And again, this is just not pressing down. I'm just trying to get it nice and flat. That way everything adheres nicer to it. We're going to do the same thing. Wow. Have fun with it. And we're just going to spread this around. And if you feel like you put too much, keep moving it around. I feel like I did put too much on this. But it starts to dry, so make sure you just get more in the corners. And if you still feel like there's way too much, you can just take it off. I always get carried away and feel like I don't put enough on, and then I put too much on. That's why I do the paint on the plate. Because when I put it on the board directly, even though it's just one solid color, I always put way too much on. Less is more. I think we're good. Let me wipe this off. Put that back away. And clean that off. Put that back over here so we don't have any malfunctions. And we're going to get this completely dry too. So, like I said, if you ever have any questions, you are more than welcome to ask. You can just put them in the comments, or you can message me directly, however you would like to. I'm always happy to answer if I know the answers to it. This one I'll be putting the rice paper on, but it is a little less forgiving because it's thinner. I'm going to make sure this is completely, not even tacky. I want it completely dry so that I can maneuver my paper onto it. Like that. While I'm waiting. I just use parchment paper as my barrier. You can use Teflon sheets. You can use whatever you want. Pillowcase, anything. You just don't want the iron on your rice paper or cardstock directly. You don't want to take any chances of sticking it there. Sticking in my face. That's one way to get rid of it, to pull it out. When you don't want the iron, you just work hard on putting this together, you don't want the iron to score or burn or anything of your paper. Not score, scorch is what I want to say. Alright, we'll work on this one first. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my paper in. Now you could cut this down if you wanted to. Again, I just used a scrap piece of, my printer printed this out and I had the rest of it and I'm like, well, we don't throw that away. We can just print something on that. So that's what I went ahead and did my picture on there that I wanted. And we're just going to line this up to where we want it to be. I like that. I think that's good. And we're just going to take a piece of our parchment paper, and I just get mine at the Dollar Tree. I know the Dollar Tree isn't $1 anymore, but you could probably get it cheaper elsewhere, but you know, it is what it is. I don't know where to put this, so we're just going to stick it right there. So just take yourself a piece of parchment paper, and then we're just going to lay it down. I have my iron up. Well, let's just say, ouch. That was almost an incident. I start in the middle, press down, squeeze out. Press down, squeeze out. Press down, squeeze out. That way if you have any bubbles, you're pushing them out. And then I'll go around it. So the initial I do from the center out and then start pushing around. You can let it sit there a little bit. So now what I do is I give it a good iron. I put the iron to the side, take the parchment paper off, and look and see, okay, looks pretty good. But now I take the sander, and again, sorry if you don't like the noise. I'm just going to sand off, always going from, let's see if I can get it here, going down, down. Don't go up and down. So down, I'm not going up and down. You don't want to sand like you normally would sand, because you have a chance of tearing that paper. For some reason, it's not adhered, then you have a chance of ripping that paper as you come up. So down, down, just keep going down. Keep going around. Now, if you were one that wanted a different colored background, you could have very well cut it out or water print it out if you like those rough edges, and then, you know, dab your color in as you go, if that makes sense. I have done that many times, and you'll see videos on my page of doing that, but I just want this to be a white background. Not sure why I bother vacuuming in my craft room, because the minute I do, I just get it dirty again. Alright, so now we have this. Cute! And that's cute just like it is, as it is. However, I like to go one step further. And I'm going to take my iron again. And now that I know where the edges completely are, I'm just going to make sure we're going to go around one last time before I turn the iron off. I'm not really going to turn it off because I have to do the other page, or the other board. Make sure all of the corners, all of the edges are completely down. And that's why I think you want to make sure you have that barrier between your wood, because it does get hot. But look, just like that. And that would just make a cute sign as it is. You just want to put it up on your mantle. All the options. I'm going to put that over here. Okay, we need to dry this some more. This is still soaking wet. So keep the wick nice dry. Now, cardstock is a little more forgiving. I'm not saying you can put it down on wet Mod Podge and pick it up 15 times. But if it's a little patchy, it's a little bit thicker, it won't rip as easy. However, I want this completely dry because I want to make sure that I get my buffalo checks straight. To me, and to a lot of people, when it's off the stage, the OCD kicks in. Now, I'm not really OCD. I am not, but when I can see buffalo checks or a line that's just not straight and goes up, you know, a little bit's not going to bother me, but sometimes it does. So I just want to make sure we have everything the way we want it to be. Alright, I think that is good. So let's do, see, because this is like a lot, there's a lot going on. could butt it up to the bottom and then just say a little tacky. I like to overhang it a little bit. So my backboard is 11 by 11. My front, this obviously is a 12 by 12. So if we'll get it. So you know what I could do? I think that's going to be good. I'm going to do the same thing. So like I said, always, now this piece is kind of smaller, and that's fine. So you just want to kind of move the parchment paper along with you, but I'm going to go from the center out. And that's just going to cause any kind of bubbles to make sure that everything's laying flat. Start going. They put these cords in like the wrong places. And this is a little thicker, so I want to make sure I do it a little bit longer. Make sure that heat gets through and gets that glue reactivated. Now I will do the same thing. Now again, cardstock is thicker than the rice paper, so you may hear this a little bit louder. You got to struggle a little bit more with this, but I always say hang it off the desk, hold, and really put your oomph to it. But again, always go up, down, down, never go up and down. And again, I do apologize if this noise bothers you. Trash can over here, so when they fall, whoops. It does always help if you have a very good sandpaper one. This one's not so good right now. It needs to be replaced. It's pretty good, straight wise. got shreds of paper everywhere, but it's good. So now before I unplug the iron, we're going to do one last time around. And again, this could just because I do it, doesn't mean that, you know, I feel it's just the need to do it. So I just want to go one more time around. Even though I feel like it's all down, just, it's not going to hurt. And then we're going to unplug. Put this to the side. Now, just to give you an idea, and I really think, oh, it's going to be so cute. See how that's what it's going to look like? I just think that looks perfect together. Loving it, loving it, loving it. All right, so now this is a me thing also. But before we get to that, I'm going to just lay out what I want to do. Well, we have a catastrophe here. The little scissors were being stuck in the drawer. I'm going to take 2 of these branches. This is just boxwood from the Dollar Tree. We're going to cut them off. I always take these little pieces off just because my bow ends up being there. Look, they just pop right on off. I'm gonna have to cut those off. Because these will get in the way. Same with this one over here. And then we're gonna bend this to where I want it. And I will cut the stems down. But we're gonna put a little greenery. And then I have this and this ribbon that we're gonna use to make a bow. And I will do that first. So I think it's gonna look perfect together for our buffalo check. You know, we got your buffalo check on here plus the burlappy color, and we're going to put that on there. So I'm going to put this to the side. We're going to make a bow real quick, and then we'll continue on. So let me put that over there. I'm going to lift this up only because this is silicone, and when I make my bows, they don't slide on the silicone. Imagine that. So I just eyeball. If it's too big, I cut down. If it's too small, let me make another one. Usually like about 7 inches, I guess. Let me measure and see. Okay, good. This might be too long. Oh yeah, I made these 9 inches. I usually do about 8 inches. So we might have to cut down, that's fine. And we're just gonna cut these 2. And this is just the cutest little dog paw ribbon with our buffalo check happening in it. I am gonna add And I know it's not fall, but that's okay. I like to add this just a little more texture, a little more something something in your ribbon. You can make your bows with whatever you want. I'm going to lay that to the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the ends. And I made, like I said, I might have to cut these more, but I like to do this now rather than later. And if you guys want to make a if you accidentally cut them wrong or whatever, just remember, fold them like a taco and then out to the corner. Always remember that. Fold them like a taco and then cut towards the corner. It's always an easy way because everybody's like, oh, do I do this? And then you end up doing them wrong. So for this kind of ribbon, you want to fold like a taco and cut to the corner. Alright, now I need some twine. I usually just put mine together with a piece of twine. This is, you can use your bow dabber for this. It's just whatever you feel comfortable with. I just kind of scrunch and bunch them. So I'm going to crisscross. And then I'm going to take my little raffia, I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to cut. Just so like so. Try to gather it, it's not cooperating. So I kind of pinch it in the middle, and we're just going to place it in the center. Now, at this point, I'm just going to put my finger in the middle, my two fingers in the middle, and I'm going to use my middle fingers, and I'm just going to scrunch this together as much as I can. Just walk it in, just walk. Some of it's stiff. Oh gosh, this is stiff. Walk it in, walk it in, walk it in. And I don't like the way that walked in, so we're going to do it again. Sometimes when the ribbon is so stiff, and this burlap one is, it just takes a few. Just keep doing it. So sometimes the bow dabber helps, or your ribbon maker helps, whichever one you use. And I'm going to scrunch it in. So we just got that, and then I'm going to take my twine, and at this point you can use zip ties, you can use whatever you want, you feel more comfortable with. If you don't have the strength to tie, I kind of like wrap it around, and we're just going to keep wrapping. Wrap as tight as you can, but don't go too tight because you could break your twine. And I'm just going to wrap. And then we're going to come towards the back. And then I'm going to tie. Again, tie it tight. Don't tie it too tight that you break the twine, because then you have to start all over. Now I do have a feeling this is going to be too big, so I'm going to cut it down some. I just feel like that's a little too big, especially some of these pieces. So let me cut this down. Twine down my raffia down. So let me just get over the trash can to do that. just gonna look. I think this one needs to be cut down just a little bit. So it all depends on how you lay them out too. You know, you could have a little more on one side. Again, bows don't have to be 100% perfect. And wired ribbon is the best to use, so keep that in mind. Trim this one down just a little bit. I like the front ribbon to be a little bit smaller than the back ribbon, but not small enough. We have our little bow, and again, if it's still too big, we're going to find out. Bring this over and we're going to see, is it way out of control or are we okay with it? I mean, it's a big bow. We're okay. Well, I think I kind of like the size of that. Nope. I think I'm good with that. I think I like that. Okay. So now before I do anything on the front, well, we can tie this together. I actually end up tying my greenery together at the size that I want, where I want it. So let me measure. Only because it allows me, when I put the glue down, a nice holding spot. So I don't want my greenery like way overboard on the outside, but I do want it to reach the outer part. This is like not cooperating here. So just so it's over the edge just a tiny bit, but not too much. So I'm going to take that, take my twine, get it out in the center, and we are just going to wrap. And I know some people staple. I don't do all that. Okay. Now I will go back and I'm going to cut these pieces off a little bit. Not down all the way, just off a little bit. Have our flat. Yep, that's perfect. Okay. Now, before I do all that, and before I even start gluing stuff onto the front, because we're almost done, I'm going to put a hanger on the back. And I do that now because it's easier than trying to do that when you have all your stuff on the front. So I have some fun buffalo check red ribbon or red beads. I'm going to add some to my, you usually use the red ones. I'm not using the black and white ones. So I usually put about 10 beads, so 5 per side. I don't do a full beaded hanger. So we're going to do 10 beads. Let's see if we can get them on. 1, 2, 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. keep pulling white ones out. Okay. So now I've completely ruined this piece of ribbon or twine here just from the thickness, but that's okay. So I'm just going to cut that off and start over. So I'm going to take my little handy hot tool machine here. I need more glue. Oh, it's not ready for more glue yet. So we're going to put and then I'm just going to simply lay this down. Hold it for a second. And I have these little rectangular things that I cut out. They are just going to be the stronger piece. Let's see, now I need my glue. These are just felt, the harder felt squares. And I'm just going to place that over top so it gives the twine a little bit more than just one little spot being. I'm mindful this is hot. Let that cool for a second. Just cut a piece off. And I know I cut way more than I need, but that's okay. I'm just going to hold this up and see how big I want my hanger. I don't want a huge hanger. I think probably there works. We're going to do the same thing to this side. I'm just going to hold it in the glue for a second. And then I'm going to take my other little, oops, don't you pull off, my other little square, well, square, rectangle. I just cut pieces. It was not, I had these left over from other projects. If I have to buy, and I do like using them for this because they're nice and sturdy, but if I have to buy more eventually, I will probably just stick with neutral colors like the tan. I mean, I've got them in pink, blue, purple. I mean, you name it, I've got them all. I think I bought these when AC Moore was still around, so that's how long I've had them. With that, oh, if you guys want to join my Tumblr group, it's Tumblrs to Treasures on Facebook. You are more than welcome. It is a free group. It is more than just tumblers, though. We do wind spinners, we do DTF transfers, we do 3D printing things that just started out as a Tumblr group. And there's our little. Now we can build onto the front. Then we're going to figure out where we're going to put things before placing them. I don't ever put this in the middle, only because if you do that, I do it more to the bottom, because if you do that, by the time you put the bow on, it's covered, it just looks off-center. That's when my OCD hits in, and I don't have OCD. So we're just going to go across the bottom. All right. So what I do is I do 5 dots of glue. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the middle. Make sure you got it the right way. Across the bottom. Looking so cute. Press it down. And that always, like I said, I've made so many of these that definitely holds no problem whatsoever. Never had that come off. Like I said, the only thing I've ever had problems coming off is the paper when I don't Mod Podge or when I don't paint it. Go figure. And I'm gonna hold this right about there. So we're gonna do it right here. Now I will hold this until it completely dries because otherwise it will pop off. That's why I like that twine there. Gives me something to hold on to, and I'm just going to let that dry. It does take a few seconds. It's okay. We can wait. I have the Ryobi heat tool, and it does get hot, so mind your fingers. But and I also use the Gorilla Glue. That is another thing that I highly recommend. If you have issues with items falling off, or I really think the Gorilla Glue does hold stronger than the rest of it. Let's blow on it a little bit. Okay, that's good. Now we're going to put our bow, but we're going to put our bow so it's just above this. So I'm going to put more glue there. And again, we're going to hold this down until it dries. I'm not going to pick it up. I'm not moving. We're just going to sit here for a few. Blow on it. You know, when you were kids, it's like that, just blowing on it just made it feel so much better. Did it really? When we got a sore, it's just blowing it. I'm not sure what that did, but it somehow made it feel better. Nope. Should take the fan over on it. I think that's good. I like how fluffy the bow is like that. Now, I've thought about, I'm going to see if I like this or not. Something for the middle. I didn't want to do a flower, but I wanted something Christmassy. Well, we can even get this off. Let's try a different one. need this part. I'm just wondering if I could. Let's see if I can fix this leaf. Oh, I think that's going to be pretty there. Let's see if we can. I used all that glue already? Goodness gracious. Again, I'm going to hold this. I'm not moving it. La di da di da 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 da. Let me throw some of this stuff away. So like I said, these signs are so fun to make. You can use any designs, you can use any, you know, you can make 10 of them in a row and they're going to all be different. They're so much fun. They make great gifts, great decor pieces for your holiday season. Whether it's Christmas, whether it, you know, whatever this holiday is, or every day. We love the puppies. I love it. It's going to be a great addition. Let me show you what it looks like. Oh, that is so pretty. It's perfect. It is perfect. So I hope this inspired you. Guys, remember, apparently that wasn't ready. Make sure I'm getting glue in there. Let's try this again. See? This is all live. Yeah, see what I mean by having to hold this on until that's not gonna help. Just trying to see if I had something in with this maybe this little thing. Make sure it's on there, pressing down in the center. Are we on? I think we're on now. It just takes a little glue. If it falls off again, we're in trouble. So anyway, I hope this inspired you. It's amazing. I love how it turned out. Great decor piece. Guys, if you are not following me, please do so. It is the best way to be notified when I have videos that are uploaded. My dog's going to start in. But it's also great to have you part of our family here. I think it's going to be fine. I'm gonna double check on it. But simple as that, great decor pieces and great gifts for family. Remember that for this coming season. And I would always like to remind you that thoughts become things and things become treasures. So, with that being said, make sure you follow and I will see you in the next video.